Chapter 5: The Department of Mafia. The whispers had become more specific, more targeted. They weren't just general insults or suggestions anymore. They were revealing intimate details about Alex's life, things he thought no one else knew. They mentioned his childhood traumas, his secret fears, even his most private thoughts. "Remember that time, Alex?" they'd hiss, recounting a painful memory he'd tried to bury. "We know everything about you, Alex. You can't hide from us." He felt violated, exposed, as if his mind had been laid bare for everyone to see. He realized the whispers weren't just about control, they were about humiliation. They were trying to break him down psychologically, to strip him of his dignity, to reduce him to a quivering mess of fear and self-loathing. His research led him to another layer of the conspiracy, a faction within the ATG known as the DOMT, the Department of Mafia. They weren't driven by some twisted ideology of control, but by pure greed, by the lust for power and profit. They used the mind control technology not for some grand global agenda, but for personal gain, for blackmail, extortion, and manipulation. The DOM, Alex discovered, was a corrupt cabal within the larger ATG, a group of scientists, politicians, and businessmen who had hijacked the technology for their own selfish purposes. They used it to steal secrets, to manipulate markets, to silence their enemies. They were the true villains of the story, the ones who profited from the suffering of the TIs. He found whispers of their activities in the TI forums, tales of blackmail, extortion, and even murder. They were said to be ruthless, willing to do anything to protect their interests. They had infiltrated governments, corporations, and even criminal organizations, creating a vast network of influence and control. Alex realized that the DOM was responsible for the most brutal and invasive forms of targeting. They were the ones who used the technology to inflict the most psychological pain, to break down their victims, to turn them into puppets. They were the ones who reveled in the suffering they caused. He started to investigate the individuals he believed were connected to the DOM. He found their names mentioned in leaked documents, whispered in online forums, hinted at in cryptic messages. They were powerful people, influential figures in business, politics, and even the intelligence community. He discovered that the DOM wasn't just using the technology for personal gain, they were also selling it to the highest bidder. They were arming dictators, terrorists, and criminals with the power to control minds. They were creating a world where no one was safe, where everyone was vulnerable to manipulation. Alex felt a surge of anger, a burning desire to expose the DOM and their crimes. He knew it would be dangerous, that they wouldn't hesitate to silence him, but he couldn't stand by and watch them destroy lives. He began to gather evidence, documenting their activities, tracing their connections, building a case against them. He knew he had to be careful, that they were watching his every move, but he was determined to bring them down. He realized that the DOM was the key to understanding the larger conspiracy. They were the ones who were pulling the strings, manipulating events from behind the scenes. They were the ones who were profiting from the suffering of the TIs. As he sat in his darkened apartment, the hum vibrating through his body, the whispers taunting him, Alex knew that he was fighting a battle against a powerful and ruthless enemy. But he also knew that he had to fight. The fate of countless individuals, perhaps even the fate of the world, depended on it.